All right, how's it going, guys? Okay, so where we last left off, we were able to successfully register the user in the database and all of that. We got our email notification, even though we hit a bit of a bump, but yeah, we were able to then get an email body showing with our URL there, where it shows the token and what you call it, and code. So before we click that button, we need to then set up the functionality we need within here to verify the account. So first thing we need to do is get the parameters. First param, then we get the token. So remember that name needs to be the same as what is in if you check here at the bottom, when I hover on the button there, it shows the name of the parameter, which is token, right? So make sure that's what you get retrieving there. So we're gonna say string and then token. Okay, and then at request param, right? We're gonna say code, right? And then we're gonna say code. So even though, remember, this is a string, so we need to get the string value that we're getting there. All right, so now what we need to do is here we set the value, I mean the view, right? Which is gonna return us back to the login page once everything is correct. All right, so now before we continue here, first we need to create another method here within the repository. So we are then gonna do the exact same thing we did here, which is going to be at modifying, right? And then the query is going to be value. The query is going to be update users, and then here we say set token. We're gonna set it to null, right? And then what else we need? We need to change the token, the code, the verified, and verified at, right? So um, these are the main three things we need to update. And then if you check the updated at, we don't need to. We can do that. Actually, yeah, we can do that. Doesn't matter. So the token, and then we also need to change the code. Set it to also to null. All right, verified, which is this particular field here. You remember it's setting at it's set at 0. So verified is gonna then be equal to 1, and then verified at, which is this particular field here. We're gonna give it the date time, which is going to be, let's just set it to now, right? And then updated at, we can then now set that also to now. Just be safe. All right, update user set, and then here we're gonna say where. Let's just indent that, where the token, where token um, where token equals to, then here we're going to put the placeholder token, and then we're going to say end code equals to, again we're going to say code, right? So basically we're going to pull the code the token that we're getting from the URL string and that, and then we can close this, close that, and that, right? So that's how we're going to bind as to what fields we are updating, right? Then I think that's all we need. Then we're gonna say add transactional. So when you're making an insert or an update, you need these two annotations, the transactional and modifying. Otherwise, it's going to throw an exception. Okay, so here is where we're going to then pull our, what you call it, our 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 where we're going to create our method, right? So let's say check, um no, let's just say verify account, and then here is where we're going to get the parameters. So we're going to say uh token, again string, and then token, and then we're going to say add param, again we're going to say code, and then this is going to be a string, so we're going to say code. I don't know if it's going to give us an issue since in the database we've set it as an integer, but let's just test it with this and see if it works. All right, so this is what we're going to use to update the account. So the moment they click on this link, it's going to hit this particular URL, the verify URL, and then it's going to process all of that that we just did now, and then return us back to the login page. All right, and then let's just change this to verify. Actually, we don't even need this. Right. All right, so yeah, that's fine. And then here we can set the success message. To log in. Okay, and yeah, I think that's it. So now we need to annotate um, this at the top. We're gonna say private, and then user repo, and user repository, and then add auto wired. Okay, so here we can call it, we can say user repository dot verify account, and then we're gonna get the token, and then we're gonna get the code. Okay, what else? Yeah, I think that should be it. So then after it verifies this, we then gonna be sent back to the account, to the login page, and then in the login page we then now need to display this message. So we can come to the registration page since we already have something like that set up. And by the way, let's change this border, the border to success, because as you saw in the registration page it showed the reddish border. So we can copy this here and then go to the login page, and then right before the header of the login we can then display it here, right? Okay, so let's see, I think that's all we need. Yeah, I think that's all we need. So if we did everything correctly, it should update this table for this user, Sam Davis. Set the code, oh no, not that one. Yeah, set the code to null, as you can see, and then also remove the token. And then also the other thing is to update this. As you can see, it has the same date and time as when we created the user. So this should also change. All right, and then this should also have a timestamp as well. All right, so I think we can proceed to test that. So while it loads up, I'm gonna pause the video and then we will test once it's back up. Please hold for me a second there. How's it, guys? Okay, so I deployed the server, but there's an error here that's displaying within the console, and I know what that is. So here within the user repository, I forgot to actually set this as a native query. So Remember, when you're using native queries, you need to set this as a second attribute within the query parameter. So that is most likely why it gave the, where's that thing, this particular error here. So yeah, apologies for that. I actually forgot to set this up. So let me run the server again, and then we will test once it's back up again. One moment for me, please. All right, guys, the server is now up. So far within the console, there's no errors. So let's see if now when we click on that verify account button, is it going to show the verified message on the login page, and is it going to redirect us and so forth. So I'm gonna click here. Okay, so there seems to be an issue. So let's check that out. You have an error in your SQL. Check the manual to whatever. In quote. Okay, so let's close that. Let me close that. All right, so string code, set that to null. Let me see again. Okay, so let's see. Oh, okay. I put a semicolon there. My apologies again. Let's try run the server again. One moment for me, please. All right, the server is up. Let's try again and see if this time it'll work. Okay, so now as you can see, account verified successfully. It redirected us back to the login page. So now if we check within the database, as you can see, that was the token and that was the code, right? So now those two values should be empty, and then the verified ad should have been updated along with the the verified ads and verified, and along with the updated ad. So if we check again, as you can see, verified is now set to the current timestamp along with the updated ad. Okay, the created ad also updated, but in any case, that's fine. And then the verified is now set to 1, and then those two values are no longer displayed. So now let's do another thing within here. So let's stop the server. So as you see, this query is going to keep running every time a user clicks on this button. So we need to protect against that. So what we can do is create another, what you call it. So this one is going to be a string. It's going to return a string value. So we're going to say check token, and then um, we're going to say at param, which is going to be token, right? And then we're going to bind that to a token string. Okay, and then the query, right? The query is going to be a value. I'm also gonna somewhat just set up the native query because I have a tendency of forgetting this thing. I don't know why, but in any case, I'm gonna set that up now and then say select um, token from users where um, uh, token equals to the token provided, right? So now, um, by the way, one of the main reasons you want to, if you were not using a native query, the other way in which you could set this up would be something like where you have to where you have to check, where you have to change this and say something like u dot token, and then here you would set this up as the you would set that u as the place or as the placeholder for the users field. So I don't like doing that because it tends to confuse me at times. So that is why I'm going with using native queries and so forth. But yeah, Okay, so now we should be able, so now we're gonna set this up within our verification, what you call it, page or URL. So here we then come to the index controller. So before we get, let's say update and verify account, right? Before we get to this stage here, we need to do an if statement here. So check if token is valid. Okay. All right. So here we can say if oh wait, yeah, we need to say we need to get token, right? Get token in database. All right. So we're gonna say string db token, or rather, let me just say db token is gonna equal to user repository dot check token, right? And then we take in the token that we're getting from the URL and we're passing it there. And then in here we can check to see if that DB token value is if it's available or not. So we're going to say dot if it is empty, or DB token equals to an empty string, something like that. We can then redirect the user to the error page, right? So let's copy this, place it within here. I'm gonna say error, and we can just output a simple message and say this session has expired. Okay, and then oh yeah, so let's change this, right? Set it to null initially, but then in here we're gonna say get verify page, and then we will equal that to the error page. Otherwise we will equal this, we will change this to, it will equal to the login page. All right. Okay, so all right, so here we're gonna return get verified page. We could change the name to something else, but you know what, it's fine. Okay, so here we're gonna check if that token is still available. So as you can see right now, it's null, right? So when we query the database to see if there is a token within the database that exists, if it doesn't, if that token doesn't exist, then we can then we're gonna redirect the user back to the error page. All right, so now let's set up this error message, because remember in here we only have the default text message that we set up. So let's come back to the registration page, and then we can just copy this, right, and then set it up here where we put in the sample text. So let's paste it there, and then here we're gonna say error along with over here we're gonna say error. All right, okay, so that should be it for the registration page. So just to verify, we are checking if that value exists. If it doesn't, it's going to take us to the error page, and then otherwise it's just going to continue um, um, and update the user's information, and then you return to the login page, and then also display that success message. All right, so let's test that out. Okay, so while it deploys, I'm going to pause the video again, and then we'll test once it's back up. All right, guys, the server is up. Okay, so if you remember, we already updated this user, so that value doesn't exist anymore, and then the code is also no longer available. So in here, we're going to check and see if there is a value. If it's not, it's going to display, take us to the error page, and it's supposed to show this session has expired message. So let's come back here to the email, and then let's click over here. All right, internal error, internal server error. What's this? Okay, get verify index controller. Okay, so let's remove this. Since we got the is empty um what you call it, method over here. So let's try again. All right, guys, the server is up. Okay, let's try again. Let me first close this part over here, and then let's try again. Okay, so seems to be an issue here. Let's see. Okay, so it's having an issue with this particular statement. So okay, check token. It's supposed to return a string, which is token. Um, okay, I'm not sure why it's having a problem with that, but all right. In the previous project, initially I had done something like this. If it's equal to null. So I don't know if this is going to be helpful, but let's try that. Okay, the server is up again. Let's close this. Come back here. Say verify. Okay, so now it's showing our message. All right, so that's what I was going for here. Um, but that makes me very uncomfortable that the dot is method is empty method didn't work. But in any case, since this is what I was going for was so that it checks if there is a value available. If not, then send us to the error page and then display the session has expired message, and of which, as you can see, there it is there. We will test this again later on when we use a different user account to register, and then to see if it will pass this particular step if, let's say, there is a value available, right, and so forth. All right, so yeah, we did our user validation. So um, once the user is validated, it's going to bring them here if that token still exists within the database. If not, it'll send them to the error page like I just showed you. So now here is where we're going to work on the authentication process after this to redirect the user back to the dashboard and so forth. All right, so I think that should be fine in terms of what we need for the authentication process. And so in the next video, like I said, we will work on the login process. In any case, guys, that's it for the video. Again, if you've liked what you've seen so far, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys within the next video. All right, cheers for now.